français tout du long de ce laboratoire. Donc merci à nos interprètes que je salue, qui sont en haut.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Amaris Genius. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm here as a youth delegate for the World Forum for Democracy. So my question is also from the African perspective. From what I heard from the translator, when the panelist from 10 at 10 spoke, he started by saying, knowledge is power. I agree with that. But from the perspective I'm speaking at, I would say knowledge is power, but hunger is powerful as well. Knowledge is power. Poverty is also powerful. How do we educate, how do we replicate people who haven't eaten? How do we educate them about climate change? How do we educate them about environmental protection? This is what I'm concerned about. I want to give an example quickly. I'm from Nigeria, and oil is the dominant factor in our economy. At my backyard, they are flaring gas. This is causing serious climate hazard. Now, in the community where gas is being flared, there is poverty, poverty that you can see, poverty that is working. People in this community, to survive, there's this what they call tapioca, more like a product from cassava. To this food, to create this food, they will have to go to the flaring plants to dry these products. If you are to educate these people to protest, to agitate against this gas flaring, you're indirectly telling them to fight against their source of their own livelihood. So my question comes back to that. How do we, in the face of poverty, in the face of illiteracy, in the face of lack of opportunities, replicate these initiatives? Or are these initiatives created for perfect conditions of Europe? Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Je ne sais pas si nous pourrons répondre.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure we'll be able to address that highly political and philosophical issue within this lab, but thank you very much for pointing that out. Parliamentary Assembly's part sessions. And to address the question from the gentleman from Nigeria, you are absolutely right. World hunger is a major issue. I drew up a report as part of Francophonie on food waste and world hunger. And as you rightly said, Lydia, climate change discriminates far more against the people of Africa, who might have fewer financial resources, than elsewhere around the world. And hunger will get worse if climate change gets worse. And that is another major concern for me. 820 million individuals were living in great poverty. Now, that got slightly better in recent years, but there's a risk of the situation getting worse again. Already in France or in Switzerland, people are talking about an increase in the price of bread and pastry simply because there were lots of floods around the world this year and wheat production decreased, which means that the price of bread product increases. Now, in places where people have very high purchasing power, such as France or Switzerland, that's not a major issue. But in places where the purchasing power is lower, that might be a serious issue indeed. And there might be hunger problems. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what I wish to say. However, if I haven't addressed all the questions, I remain at your disposal. Thank you very much.
Comments do you wish to share following the statement by our friends? Yes, thank you very much. I wanted to go back on what you were saying as regards including others. Thank you very much to our colleague from Nigeria for what you said on hunger and poverty. Thank you very much, because indeed you have to be more inclusive. And the examples that were shown are examples of privileged children in Europe. Having said that, Last year and this year, there were projects presented by schools in Dakar, schools on agro-environment, and some of my students were amazed to see how smart people were coming up with these educational activities, and soon a project will be presented in Guyane, and headmaster shows us what her students do. And I told her that 10 to 10 enables us to show what others do, especially when you're not sure that what you do has value. So sometimes this can have an impact on the privileged students. Now, I cannot answer on those who live in Nigeria. I visited Lagos, I know quite well. And what I know is that it is myself, my students, the families who need to change our habits. A lot of the projects presented under 10 at 10 are projects for us privileged people, because I think it is up to us to change a lot of things, to do a lot of things. Thank you. Thank you very much for these comments.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. We still have some time left for one last round of questions. I see Guillaume would like to respond right away. Yes, I have one question. To come back to Nigeria, do you feel that a 10 at 10 might be deployed, since there are such actions in some schools? Do you think this would be possible too, not just on climate, but also in favor of on biodiversity or access to healthcare? Do you feel this is possible, or am I being utterly unrealistic?
Merci. À vous.
Thank you very much. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is very possible. I mean, Nigeria is made up of 200 million persons. Out of that 200 million, about, let's say, 100 million have access to some basic needs. I mean, that's a lot. And this poverty could be some community who is impossible for them to access this 10 at 10. But if you're talking about, is it possible in Nigeria? Yes, it is possible. But is it possible in these communities that are really, really affected? No, it's not. So that's where the concern comes in. How do we raise awareness in these communities?
Et peut-être pour prolonger.
To follow on from that question and to tease you a little, since you challenged us with a real issue, do you have in mind experiences in your own country so as to have access to the more remote or the least accessible communities, something that we might draw inspiration from? Or is there nothing in your sites that might enable those communities to be involved in that kind of education?
It's quite a complicated issue because at one part you're looking at their livelihood, which is also in its own way supporting the environmental degradation. And on the other hand, you're looking at the bigger corporations, the capitalists, the Shell, the Chevron, and the rest, the guys drilling the oil. And then on the another hand, you're also looking at the government, who is also complicit, who is in bed with these capitalists. So for me, I've been part of so many initiatives, not my initiative directly, but where we've tried to engage legislations, policy movement, not through the grassroots. So personally, I've not been involved in an initiative that goes directly to the grassroots to educate them, but my engagement have been through the policymakers, through the legislators.
Thank you very much. Sir, maybe a question or a response. Thank you very much. Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Pierre Cliff. I'm a professor and president of the European University. Well, let me take off my face mask. I have 3 suggestions on environmental education. Firstly, environmental protection should be part of the curricula, since this is across several subjects. So we need to overhaul school curricula. This, of course, is to be done by the Minister of Education alongside environmental protection organizations. Secondly, at our university, there's a lot of nature teaching. For example, we are planning to go to the Leonardo near Aubernais.
Environmental discourse. When we talk about education, we have lots of initiatives that focuses on citizens' education, grassroots education, and mobilization. But there is, I think there is a few persons or minority that is being neglected. And that is the actors, the leaders, people who are global, regional, or local leaders. Are there initiatives? Is there a strategy? We've seen extreme ignorance among world leaders when it comes to environmental discourse. Are there initiatives or an idea or a strategy that we could adopt to educate people who have all the resources at their disposal, but yet they're ignorant on climate issues or urgency? Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Y avait-il encore...
Thank you very much. Are there any